I guess I want to start by saying, what is that little mumbo jumbo before I open my mouth to teach? And normally what teachers do in our tradition is they pray to the lineage, because when we teach, we're really just trying to bring wisdom through. Some of it's our hard-won wisdom, but I think it's hard-won because we've devoted our life to the best of our ability to this wisdom. But it's a lot about getting out of the way. And I want to talk about empowerment. But I want to say why I say what I say, because they are not traditional lineage prayers, but they're my lineage prayers. So, the first is the mantra of interdependence, which is that deep knowing that we are all connected and that our awakening depends on each other, our mutual care, everything that's been provided for in our life is out of the generosity of countless beings, from bumblebees to farmers to people who make iPhones, like all of it. Maybe. Yeah, stop that thought, Sue. Edit undo. There's a lot of emptiness teaching in that understanding. And then the other prayer that I say, the translation is traditionally a prayer that we say at the end as part of our dedicating the merit. And it is, may bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it never wane, but grow and flourish ever more and more. And why do I say that when it's supposed to be at the end? I say it at the beginning. I say it because it empowers me. It empowers my wisdom. It empowers what I hope to be the best in me, myself, And it helps me get out of the way. And I say it because the very first retreat I went on, it was with a Lama named Lama Sonam Jorpal, who Dave mentioned yesterday. And I should have known, I was like in trouble because I ended up taking refuge, at the end of the retreat. And he was handing everyone these sweet little Dharma wheel pendants and, names. And he handed me a dagger, a ritual dagger called a purba. And I had no idea what it was, but he looked right at me and he said, "Mind sharp like Buddha." And he went like this. And I was like, remember, I was like the white tar lady for a while, right? So, but that retreat, it wasn't a retreat kind of like this. It was a retreat where we went for like 2 weeks. My husband and I went every night to this Dharma center to hear teachings on Nundro, which is the beginning of the path in Tibetan Buddhism. It's called the preliminary practices. Now, I'll circle back to that if I remember. And we were receiving the very traditional teachings on Nundro. And we really didn't even know how to meditate. And there was no translator, so we were receiving the teachings in what I would call Tiblish, which is some version of Tibetan English. So that was a little hard. And there were all these big, weird words, lots of them. And Dave reminded me of this yesterday, saying, oh, there's words that people don't know that you guys are saying. And I just want to say, listen, it's okay. You kind of always step in the middle. That's how it is. And I think he spent a full week on the Hell Realms, teaching on the traditional teachings on the Hell Realms, which were really difficult. And so by the end, I have no idea really why something landed deep inside of me. There was some recognition. But it happened when we were singing the prayer, Jangchup Semcho Rinpoche. And the tears just started pouring down my face. And I was so trying to sing the Tibetan, which still is a little hard for me. You guys hear me missing notes, words, but
not on that prayer.
Not on that prayer. But I knew there was so much transmission in that prayer. So I didn't need to be reading the English because it came right into my being. And that's also an empowerment, And it's like Rinpoche saying, when you're ready to wake up, everything becomes a catalyst for your awakening. And I don't think she would mind me sharing, but beloved Deborah King shared a story, maybe she might have shared it here, of recently being at retreat, and all the meals had tables with little arrangements of flowers, and they were keeping the flowers fresh every day. And one day she just looked at the flowers on her table, and it was such a transmission of loving care, from the people that were organizing the retreat. And it became part of her field of care. In that moment, that practice, just all those qualities were right there and available to her. And that's also an empowerment, I think. Our whole life can do this for us if we know how to look, if we know what to pay attention to, how to see, how to feel. It's like that story, I think it's from the Cherokee tradition I reference it all the time, it's just so perfect, of the two wolves, the grandfather who's talking to his little grandson and saying, there's two wolves inside of me and they're at war, they're fighting. The grandson says, which one will win? And one wolf is, goodness, and the other is evil. And the grandfather says, whichever one I feed. So what do we want to empower in our lives? The traditional empowerment in the tradition is an empowerment of a practice. They call it an abhisheka, or an empowerment to empower our Buddha nature, to say, you have permission to practice this Because this is who you already are. You are already Green Tara. You are already Vajrayogini. You are already Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion. You are already Kodrakali. But there is a lineage, and I'm passing it through. And I'm giving you permission to do this practice. And I remember years ago now, we can date this by what I'm going to say, I don't remember the year. But when we all witnessed that horrible situation with George Floyd losing his life, and I was asked to give by an amazing Reverend Lewis Stewart, who was like our local Martin Luther King Jr. I don't know if anyone knows him. He's really a precious being. He's passed. He asked me to come and speak at a rally in the city. And I thought, what do I have to say? And I thought about our tradition. And I thought about this tradition of empowerment. And I don't remember everything I said, but one of the things I said is that was an empowerment for our whole country. That was a call to wake up. So empowerment has, we can make it personal. What do we want to empower? How do we want to utilize our suffering, samsara, the challenges, the difficulties? And Sunisa talked about all those invitations to let go of self-cherishing. We are constantly being invited. Constantly being invited. And I want to read a few verses that I have found to be breakthrough invitations for me. Like they really evoke the heart of what it is to drop the project of Sue Cohan. She's trouble. A lot of the time, And this is one, a prayer. And there are a few versions of it, and I know some of you know it, and I've read it before. That became particularly profound for me when I was pretty sick a few years ago. I got one of those scary diagnoses, and if it turned out to be that I had what the doctors thought I had, I wouldn't probably be here right now. But it was less serious. It was still kind of serious. But this prayer was my refuge. If my sickness is of benefit to living beings, may I be sick. If my death would benefit them, may I die. But if my recovery would help, may I be cured. Bless me to accept whatever happens and use it as my path. That is the heart of the Bodhisattva path. Can I say it again? I'll say it again. I'll say it a little faster. Oh, you're writing. Okay. If my sickness is of benefit to living beings, may I be sick. If my death would benefit them, may I die. But if my recovery would help, may I be cured. Bless me to accept whatever happens and use it as my path. So this is the path of the Bodhisattva, and this is the path of a Chodpa, a Chod practitioner. This is transformation. This is utilizing everything. And then I have to read my beloved Shantideva and my favorite passage from Shantideva. May I be a guard for those who are protectorless, a guide for those who journey on the road, for all who wish to go across the water. May I be a boat, a raft, a bridge. May I be an isle for those who yearn for landfall, and a lamp for those who long for light, for those who need a resting place, a bed, for all who are in need, a servant. May I be the wishing jewel, the vase of plenty, a word of power and the supreme healing. May I be the tree of miracles, and for every being, the source of all fulfillment. There is no personal you in that aspiration. You're willing to be a bridge. The prayer has it all. It has medicine, it has food, the whole prayer. And you know what? This is not different than enlightened archetypes. This is emptiness. This is stepping into the potential to be nothing and to be everything. To know the wholeness, the completeness that's already here, the perfection, the sacred world, the sacredness of you, of all beings. And it makes the mind kind of gentle. It cultivates a kind of sensitivity. So you notice and you feel the sorrows of the world. But you keep getting bigger in your capacity to hold it without armoring your heart, without needing to close down and invoke your personal, circle of fire? Yeah. Because we all have those, you know? So our beloved little demons. And the Vajrayana is really beautiful. These practices are so beautiful. Such incredible, skillful means and wisdom. Because you know what it does? It says, listen, you've been making the whole thing up. Let me show you how you've been doing it. I'm going to give you a better thing to make up. And you're going to start making that up, that you're a Buddha, that you're blossoming, that you've already cleared away. And you're going to start to get to be so familiar with the energy of that because you do it over and over that you can't be small anymore. And every time you are, there's a mirror, there's a knife, there's a pot that's calling you. That's reminding you, or there's a flame, there's a fire. Because your practice is becoming woven into your being. Tantra, one of the translations is to weave. What do you want to empower? What do you want to weave into your being? Not the news. You know, it's one of my haunted grounds. But how could it not be a haunted ground? And this is why we're in the boat together. This is why we need each other. This is why fellowship and Sangha matters. With Sangha, remember Rinpoche saying years ago, when you're Sangha, when you're in noble relationship with each other, you don't feed each other your neurosis. You feed each other your wisdom. I remember, I had an executive coach and brought her firm into my place of work, and they did training for the company on giving and receiving feedback. Something humans don't do well because it's scary. That would be like a haunted ground, right? And so you kind of learn the formula for how to do that in a way that's skillful so you don't devastate each other. But what I really loved about the way they framed why we're doing this, it's because they didn't use the word love, but I'm going to use it. I love you so much that I am not going to let us default to some kind of dysfunctional relationship, or I'm not going to let you default into this kind of behavior that is not representative of who you are. But there's sacred view in that, because you are not turning that difficult person in your office into a one-dimensional blah, 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 fill in the blank. You are holding out their Buddha nature, and you are saying, you matter to me, and I want to invest in this relationship, so I want to share this feedback. I don't want this sticky energy between us. I want to be clear. I want to understand, where is this coming from? What's going on? And I want you to know how I feel. When you said this, I want you to know how it made me feel. Not to blame, not to shame, not to make me wrong, not to make you wrong. It's about relationship. And it's about honoring that sacredness of both of us. That's like Bodhisattva work at work, right? And this is what we're doing in the Vajrayana. We're calling in these enlightened archetypes. And I want to just get a little practical now about that, because some of you are like, okay, I'm ready, I want to do it. And I want to be clear about something that maybe hasn't been crystal clear. Sunisa said, we have been offering Chod ceremony. We are holding the practice and the space for all of you, for all of us. We have been authorized and empowered, and some of you have as well in here, to do this practice from what's called a Vajra master. This is someone who has been authorized in a particular way from their teacher, and they're lamas. They've easily done 3-year retreat, if not a lot more, and had intensive training. And they are able to transmit with authority this awakening wisdom and empower you to step into that field and do that practice. And then you receive instruction. And then you begin to do it. And this is, the word for meditation in Tibetan is gom, which really means to become familiar with. So in tantric practice, you're becoming familiar with these enlightened archetypes. And they do start out as feeling like they're out there, but like we talked about, it's friendship. You get to know each other, then it's your best friend. Then all of a sudden it's woven into the kind of core of your being. And this enlightened energy is showing up, starting to direct your life in ways you never would have guessed. And your little demons are starting to finally relax. There's some space because there's a grown-up in the room. Right? This is why in the mandala, in the images, the tankas, who's in the middle of the mandala is the Buddha. Somebody who's clear. Somebody who's carrying this love and this wisdom with clarity that's unimpeded. Because if you put confusion in the center of the mandala, then you got a really confused mandala. And all the things that are happening around the outside of it. And you could just look at any country in the world and look at the leader of the country and go, whoa, look, Who's in the center of the mandala? So who do we want to be in the center of the mandala? Our wakefulness. We want to empower our full potential, the best of who we are. Because when we do, we are a light for the world. We are a radiance. We just become the teaching. We don't have to say anything. The real teachers, the most profound teachings, are their presence, their way of being, or very pith instruction like, but Sunisa, I trust life. I think this is what you did, right? I trust life. That's an empowerment. That's an empowerment. I had a beloved teacher say to me years ago, in a moment of one of my points of overwhelm and stress with my business responsibilities, listening patiently, and then she said, well, Sue, maybe you could relax with it. gee, that's like an option. I didn't see that checkbox. Like, never occurred to me. Never occurred to me. I could relax with it. You invite an enlightened archetype into your life. It will start to occur to you. Put will show up in your mind. Many years ago, my teacher, Garchen Rinpoche, I have two teachers. My first teacher is Garchen Rinpoche. And he's also a heart teacher for some beloved Dharma sisters in this room. And I had an interview with him, and I was dealing with a lot of probably PTSD. Like, I'd had children and suddenly couldn't sleep. Not just because they were keeping me awake, I just couldn't sleep. And I just felt like I needed some sort of help with that. And, I brought it up in an interview with Rinpoche, and I said, what should I do, Rinpoche? I can't sleep, and then I'm falling asleep when I meditate. And the translator talked to him, and the translation came back, and the instruction was to yell, "Put!" I was like, okay, thanks. I should have known, I got the dagger, and then I got the put instruction. I was like headed for Chod, but Chod was coming for me. But I left the interview going, yeah, right, okay. I'm already laying in bed with my nervous system tweaked. I have 2 sleeping children, and I'd like them to stay that way. And I have a husband, who does not have a heart condition, but I don't want to induce one. So, that wasn't an option. But you can do it silently to yourself, I'm just going to say. And sometimes we have to just interrupt the momentum of the crazy. And that's when the knife of a put can really help. And sometimes we can't cut through. We have to do what I would call melting through, melting practice. And this is the love practice. This is the compassion. This is the deep being present to all the broken places, to all the pain in there, to what didn't get witnessed, what wasn't heard, what wasn't allowed, what was too much. I want to close my remarks with a poem too. I have a Chod poem. I gave you the demon song. I've read this before, so some people from Dharma Refuge will have heard this, okay? And I've always presented it as a Bodhisattva prayer, but it's also a Chod poem. This is called Mother Wisdom Speaks by Christine Lore Weber. Some of you I will hollow out. I will make you a cave. I will carve you so deep the stars will shine in your darkness. You will be a bowl. You will be a cup in the rock collecting rain. I will hollow you with knives. I will not do this to make you clean. I will not do this to make you pure. You are already clean. You are already pure. I will do this because the world needs the hollowness of you. I will do this for the space that you will be. I will do this because you must be large. A passage people will find their way through you. A bowl, people will eat from you, and their hunger will not weaken them unto death. A cup to catch the sacred rain. My daughter, my son, do not cry, do not be afraid. Nothing you need will be lost. I am shaping you. I am making you ready. Light will flow in your hollowing. You will be filled with light. Your bones will shine. The round, open center of you will be radiant. I will call you, brilliant one. I will call you, daughter, sun who is wide. I will call you, transformed.